Welcome to the Gray Area. Kevin Gray of 105.3 The Fan. Appreciate everyone subscribing to my YouTube channel right here at Kevin Gray Sports. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, also at Kevin Gray Sports. The Dallas Mavericks followed themselves to Charlotte to get themselves their fourth straight win, moving to 6-4 on the year after a 104-93 win over the Charlotte Hornets, returning the favor of the beatdown that they received from the Hornets just a week's time ago. And we saw the return of one Kristaps Porzingis, who was able to have 16 points on 6 of 16 shooting with 4 rebounds and a couple of blocked shots in his first action back since August of this year, or August of 2020, I should say, in the bubble down there in Orlando. And obviously for a guy in Kristaps Porzingis, a welcome sight as they were missing several key players, including Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, Josh Richardson, and Dwight Powell due to COVID protocols. The return of Porzingis couldn't come at a better time. Plus, you got another virtuoso performance from Luka Doncic, going 14 of 25 from the field, 5 of 9 from the three-point line, to have 34 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. And that is the story of what this game was between the Dallas Mavericks and the Charlotte Hornets. Not just the fact that Luka Doncic had 16 points in the third quarter alone, but Luka Doncic on the defensive end of the basketball has found himself being much better this year and putting forth the commitment and effort to set the tone for his team on respect to the defensive side of the basketball. Coming into this game against the Charlotte Hornets, the Dallas Mavericks this season were third in defensive efficiency, which is much, much better than what they were a season ago when they finished number 1 in offensive efficiency, but 18th in defensive efficiency. So you've seen what Rick Carlisle has preached for this team throughout this offseason and into the regular season, that their calling card was going to need to be on the defensive side of the basketball.
You know, when we have the grit and we concentrate and focus defensively, you know, we take our game to another level. You know, the best players set the tone. You know, when Luka and KP are invested in the importance of defense, you know, everybody just falls in line. I mean, that's just how it is on any NBA team. And so it's great to see. It's pretty obvious, you know, after last year, we had the ability to score, but defensively we needed to get better, and we're making strides. We're making strides. We got a lot of big tests ahead of us. You know, Milwaukee is, you know, they're a top team in the league. You know, Chicago's playing really well, and you know, it goes on from there. Every game's going to be a war.
And so far, that has come to fruition. The commitments and efforts led by its superstar in Luka Doncic has made this team much better defensively. This is a team against the Charlotte Hornets the Mavericks had 12 blocks against. And you saw 4 blocks of his own from Luka Doncic in the couple of steals that he had. Early on in the first half, doing a pretty good job on Gordon Hayward, who coming into that game was averaging 29 points over his last 4 games. So the commitment that the Dallas Mavericks have made to the defensive end of the basketball is proving to work for them as they continue to gain their flow on the offensive side of the basketball. The Dallas Mavericks have 3 guys in double figures, including Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr., who was 7 of 16 from the field. He also had 18 points of his own, was a +8 in the plus-minus category. But it's Luka Doncic setting the tone for this team defensively that is putting this team in the best position to succeed night in and night out. And then you get great performances from a Willie Cauley-Stein, who himself had 4 points and 14 rebounds and a couple of assists on his own. He is playing well defensively also with 3 blocks also. So you're seeing what the calling card of the defense is for this Dallas Mavericks basketball team. Their ability to help on the weak side in terms of their defense, in terms of getting over to rotate and block shots. Their commitment to guarding folks from the very time that the ball is in their hands and putting pressure on offenses to create turnovers. Luka Doncic, for all that he is as an offensive player and how talented he is as a gifted passer, scorer, and floor general and facilitator, he is now putting forth the same kind of effort on the defensive end. I asked him after the basketball game what it means for him to set the tone as setting the tone for the defense and why it is important for him to do so. Here's what Luka said after the game was over with respect to that.
Luka, congratulations on the game tonight. Why is it so important for you to be the one to set the tone on the defensive end, knowing that as you continue to do so, your teammates will follow behind you with that?
I think it's important as a part of being a leader. Obviously, we have not just one leader, but if I set the tone, I know guys gonna follow, and I think I gotta do this more, be a better leader, and I think that's the reason to set the tone.
So Luka Doncic understands the importance of setting the tone on the defensive end and knowing that once he does, his teammates will follow closely behind him. And that's important because we know that the best players in the league are two-way players, the Kawhi Leonards of the world, the LeBron Jameses of the world, any number of players that you want to think of, and Klay Thompson when he's healthy. Any of these guys that you think of are some of the best two-way players in the world. And I'm not saying that Luka Doncic is going to be an all-world, all-NBA defender. But what he is showing is the ability to put forth the commitment and the effort to get better on the defensive end, to set the proper tone for his teammates so that they will follow and make the same commitments on the defensive end themselves. And that is infectious. Rick Carlisle, who won his 800th game against the Charlotte Hornets, has preached to this team that in order for this team to become a top 4 team in the Western Conference and make the kind of potential championship run that it wants to make, maybe not this year, but going into next year, they're going to have to improve defensively, and that's going to have to start with the leaders on this basketball team. And that's exactly what happened when Luka Doncic decided to take on the mantle of not only being the team leader and floor general for this team, but also setting the tone on the defensive end. And that's important because when your best defensive player decides that he's going to play defense, it makes everyone else have to do the same. Because in order to be a championship team, the leader of its team has to be willing to do all of the things that it takes to become a champion. And that's exactly what Luka Doncic is starting to prove himself as far as a best player in the NBA is concerned, and that type of player and that profile that fits the best player in the NBA. The willingness to not only do it on the offensive side of the basketball, but making the overall commitments to being better on the defensive end and making sure that your teammates remain accountable for playing defense also. And that's extremely important. You saw guys like Wes Nwundu continue to play well on the defensive end, not giving you the offense that necessarily that you want, but at the same time, Rick Carlisle praising Wes Nwundu for why he is continuing to show his defensive prowess on the defensive side of the basketball. James Johnson, who's a Swiss Army knife, continues to make the right basketball plays and make the commitment on the defensive end of his own. He also had 3 blocks in the game against the Charlotte Hornets, being the versatile defender and scorer that he is, providing a calming presence to a basketball team that continues to use his leadership and veteran presence on this team to continue to learn how to win and to do so with a poise and a composure that is befitting of the teams that they are trying to catch at the top of the Western Conference, i.e. the Los Angeles Lakers. But this team takes its mantra and its calling card from Luka Doncic. And for Kristaps Porzingis, a night for him where he makes his return playing 21 minutes, being able to get himself reacclimated to this basketball team, as I mentioned, playing his first game with the Dallas Mavericks since the bubble back in August, and finding himself with a couple of blocks of his own. And that is important because the pairing of him and Willie Cauley-Stein, especially if Willie Cauley-Stein remains in the starting lineup, means that he's going to be at the center position, and a guy in Kristaps Porzingis is going to be playing a whole lot more 4. We know how good and what he was when he was unlocked at the 5 position in terms of his offense. But what he's to continue to provide, especially as his offensive game comes along as he's made his return now, is his engagement on the defensive end of the basketball. Much like last year when he got off to a slow start in terms of his offense, Kristaps Porzingis remained engaged on the defensive side of the basketball. That is going to have to be the same formula for him as he continues to reacclimate himself to this team as a part of the starting lineup. Remaining engaged on the defensive end, blocking shots, shot alteration, and being able to create the kind of paint resistance that is needed for a team to remain in the top 5, top 10 in defensive efficiency throughout this entire season. Because if they are able to do so with guys like Willie Cauley-Stein and his defensive rebounding, you saw more second chance opportunities because of the activity of Willie Cauley-Stein against the Charlotte Hornets, and you've seen that throughout his time in the starting lineup. These kinds of things are going to make this team a much more complete team, especially once Kristaps Porzingis continues to evolve his offensive game, and that improves as he continues to get his NBA legs under him. But this team got a lot of contributions, even from guys like Boban Marjanovic and others who helped this team, who was shorthanded, to be able to come away with a very good win against a Charlotte Hornet team that had throttled them at the American Airlines Center not too long ago. I asked Kristaps Porzingis after the game if he felt like he accomplished what he needed to in order to feel like his initial return was a success in his first game. Here's what he had to say about his return back to the Dallas Mavericks this season.
KP, good to see you. Got your clean post-game fit back game. I see going there. As far as what you wanted to get accomplished for tonight's game, did you feel like you accomplished what you set out for your first game back and starting to develop that rhythm again for yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I've been putting in a lot of work while I was out now, just shooting, just being on the floor a lot more than when I was coming from ACL, because I was really out of rhythm, and I could really tell I was real rusty when I was coming back. So I didn't want to allow that to happen again this time around. So I put in a lot more time on the floor, shooting, feeling the ball, and things like that. So I think it's going to be. Today I already felt way better than when I was coming back from ACL, but all I need now is just that time on the floor, and I have the confidence because I have been putting in the work, and sooner or later, I'll have those minutes and I'll just play out there freely, instinctively, and that's it. Enjoy the game.
So you could tell that Kristaps Porzingis feels very good about where his game is relative to where it was when he came off his torn ACL, and now finds himself dealing with this torn left meniscus, being able to get back to where he was and feeling much more closer to being to that initially than when he first came back from his torn ACL. At one point, it looked like he tweaked his ankle or his foot in the game, had a little bit of a hobble, but it seemed like he was fine throughout the rest of the game in the 21 minutes that he played, hitting 4 threes from downtown. So this Mavericks team now finds itself winning 4 games in a row, 6-4 on the season, top 3 in terms of defensive efficiency, getting another virtuoso performance from its leader in Luka Doncic, and now sees the return of the unicorn being able to provide what he does at the 4 and 5 position with his block shots, his shot alteration, and then on the offensive end, shooting the ball from downtown and even showing some dribble drive penetration and getting to the bucket on his own. Those are the kinds of things that had Mavs fans excited at the beginning of this season, with the opportunity for them to potentially compete for a top 4 slot in the Western Conference. And you saw a small glimpse of that against a good Charlotte Hornet basketball team that's been playing well as of late. More importantly, though, now, as the confidence continues to grow for this Mavs team, especially as they remain healthy and continue to manage the COVID-19 pandemic that the NBA is going through, this is a team that will gain confidence, because one thing that has traveled for them for the most part this season so far is their defense. The old adage is that defense wins championships. And as long as this defense continues to play with the ferocity and consistency that they have started to play with, this is a team, once it gets itself together offensively consistently, is going to scare a lot of basketball teams and find themselves being a real contender in the Western Conference this year. We will see how the Dallas Mavericks continue to move forward, with especially on their defense. But for now, they have seen the return of the unicorn Kristaps Porzingis, and it couldn't have come at a better time as they get a 104-93 win over the Charlotte Hornets. We will see how this Mavericks team moves forward now that they've won 4 games in a row. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to subscribe to the Kevin Gray Sports YouTube channel right here at Kevin Gray Sports. We'll talk to you later. Peace.